Thank you, Calvin. God's blessing on the word, God's blessing on all who hear the word, and God's blessing on those who offer the word. What are you distracted by? What is it that draws your attention away from your call to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world? That's what we as United Methodists are taught. That's why we're here, to encourage and make disciples of Christ for the transformation of the world. Does the world need transforming? Oh, yes. Do we need transforming? Yes. It's not that followers of Jesus aren't allowed to enjoy beauty and the wonder this world has to offer. The Christian life is marked by joy, surrounded by wonder. But we can be distracted by what we see around us and lose sight of our reason for being. Our reason for being is to live a life of proclamation and invitation. And we are thrilled to have with us a young man who will offer us his proclamation and his invitation, Raymond McGrath.
All right. I am thankful for getting the chance to talk today. A blessing from God. Before I start, I want to give all the glory to God. I would not be anywhere without Him. I also want to be clear, I am grateful for everything I went through in my life, because it made me who I am now. I am going to talk about Romans 12:20. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I want to talk about the early part of my life when I started school. I was super socially awkward back then. I was pretty different, slower than the other kids. I had a language processing problem at that age. And I was painfully shy and awkward. My favorite recess activity was sneaking off by myself and hanging out with a tree. I loved to talk to it. Yeah, it's all right to laugh. It's funny. Feeling a bond with the tree that brought me such comfort. And one day, I believe it was my 6th birthday, they said they noticed I was different and wanted to test me. That did not go well. I got sent to another school and spent the next few years in class with lots of kids with more severe problems than me, making this part of the story short, just establishing how the earthly thought of feeling like I was not enough got planted in me by earthly society. After a few years, I got back to a good special ed that fit me really good. I felt like I had several good years there until high school and beyond. I even got back with the tree because I had a classroom right next to it, the special ed class. Anyway, as I got older, the feeling of not being enough kicked in again big time from high school on, pretty much. I think it got worse. From there, it just kept on growing. I thought I was not enough, and everyone else pretty much was. A bad habit of comparing myself to others, which nobody should compare themselves to others. But that's another thought of this world. It created lots of fear and anxiety, just the part of believing I was not enough and trying to make sure nobody discovered what I thought was my huge secret, that I was not enough. I believed it so much after a while, I am sure many can relate to this feeling. I'm not unique in it. As throwing other people off to varying degrees at times, I know. I became a very lost, confused, and scared person. What I want to talk about really is how God started renewing my mind, though. You just have to talk about the other part now for the whole story. But I really like talking about healing. My mom eventually got super sick and died. It was in deep grief the Lord started inviting me to get closer to Him. I felt the pull to get closer to God just 2 weeks after my mom died. Shortly after that, God told me to learn and grow through Him. Any past things I went through, and in the present and future. After that, God wanted me to learn to love myself, and I did. I was ready then, almost 4 years ago, to start listening even more to God than to the world and the thoughts that gave me. I have been renewing my mind in God more around the last 4 years than in my whole life. So I was living in defeat, and God showed me how to renew my mind. That we were created to live in victory. Let me share some verses from the Bible about how we are created to live in victory. 1 John 5:4, for everyone who is born of God overcomes the world, even our faith. And next, John 16:33. I have said these things to you, that in me you shall have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Him that strengthens me. Those are such helpful verses. We can do all things through God. It is important to use God's strength and not our own strength. I remember when I was the greeter at this church a handful of years ago, I never dreamed I would have the courage to write something like this up and do what I'm doing right now. Some people said, after I spoke here last time, that they do not think they would be brave enough to speak in public. I do everything in God's strength. Glory to God. God helps me write this, then I just concentrate on reading the message. God renewed my mind in knowing I am enough, and we all are enough, not just me. Believing we are all created in God's image, and He is enough, so we are enough too. Here are some verses to remind you that you are enough. Genesis 1:27. So God created 1:27. So God created mankind in His own image, in the image of God He created them. Male and female He created them. And now Corinthians 12:9 and 10. But He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, insults, and hardships, and persecutions, and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. I love those verses. We are all truly enough. When we realize how weak we are, without God, that is when he fills us with his strength. Now I want to talk about the state of this world. Lots of violence. You hear about it without even trying. Lots of crime. Lots of sinful behavior, environment problems, a ton of things to confuse people and cause self-image problems and lots of illness and disease too. And so many things, too many things to list. It is so easy to conform to the world, join into the things that are wrong with it, or simply just lose some faith and have lots of fear and feel helpless. Here are some verses to deal with fear. I know the state of the world can make us so afraid sometimes. Psalm 56, 3:4. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you, and God I trust. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? Psalm 27:1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. From whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Psalm 34:4-5. I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant, and their faces shall never be ashamed. Great verses. Let us seek comfort in God and renew our mind in him every single day. This world will not give us what our souls and hearts need. It is all dysfunctional. Just put your focus on the Lord. Do not let this world distract you. Be loving and compassionate, and spread lots of love and light every day in this cold, dark world. Remember, the goal is to let yourself be renewed in God every day, not match what the world is like to fit in. I have only scratched the surface of the subject. Just a reminder to look for comfort, not from this world, but renewal in God as a lifelong, everyday process with a Bible's worth of information. I'm going to get back to reading the Bible every day again. Thank you for all listening to me today. A blessing to my humble heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I
so
appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Giving thanks to God for this message and for Raymond and his awarenesses, his awakening, and his willing to share his awarenesses. May each of us find a way in which we can be renewed in God every day. Every day. For in doing so, you will find peace. You will. And healing. Just testifying.